The bells had long stopped tolling when they lowered her coffin into the tomb beneath the palace, yet her shadow never left the throne. Queen Isadora of Velmaria had ruled with a fire that made enemies bow and allies whisper in reverence. When she passed, the kingdom wept o'er, so it was said in the court scrolls. But not a single tear fell from the eyes of her ministers. Her death brought relief to some, fear to others, and an eerie silence to the golden halls of her castle. What no one had expected, however, was that her rule would not end with her breath. The first sign was a royal decrees, with her ring, written in her unmistakable hand, delivered just 2 nights after her funeral. All grain reserves shall be diverted to the southern provinces, it commanded. Signed, Isadora, by grace eternal, Queen of Velmaria. The council was stunned. The scribe swore he had not written it. The wax seal was fresh. Her signet ring was buried with her. The messenger claimed no knowledge of its origin. It was dismissed as a forgery at first. But when the southern harvest came and the granaries were indeed overflowing, no one dared question the queen's will again. Then came the second decree, this time posted silently in the town square under the cloak of midnight. All border taxes are to be lifted indefinitely. Let commerce breathe. It bore her name once more, her royal markings, and the unmistakable rhythm of her prose precise cutting, unmercifully clear. Traders celebrated, soldiers whispered, clergy members trembled. How could a dead woman still legislate? And if it was not her, then who had taken her words and breath and turned them into law? Within a month, the court had split into 2 factions, those who believed the queen still guided the realm from beyond, and those who feared a coup hiding behind her name. The latter grew nervous, seeing their power slowly siphoned away by invisible hands. Ministers, who once sought to crown a new regent, now fell silent, afraid of what else might arrive bearing her seal. No successor dared to sit on her throne. Each time they tried, something terrible happened. Lord Varnes, who declared himself interim king, was found dead with his tongue nailed to a parchment that read, "The throne is not vacant." Lady Myra, a cousin of the queen, attempted a coronation and collapsed during the ritual, coughing black bile until her heart failed. The high priest declared it divine judgment. The people began to pray again, this time not to the gods, but to Isadora herself. The palace servants started to speak of sightings, her reflection in mirrors, footsteps echoing through empty marble corridors, faint humming, her lullaby, coming from behind locked doors. At first, these were dismissed as grief-induced hallucinations, but too many saw, too many heard. One guard claimed he saw her silhouette pass the great window just as the moonlight struck at a shape dressed in emerald silk. Crowned in thorns, he resigned the next day and fled into the mountains, never to be seen again. But the kingdom flourished. Under her ghostly reign, crime dropped. Disputes were settled faster than before. Somehow, justice moved swifter, quieter. Court judges began receiving anonymous letters, each one suggesting fair judgments that later turned out to save countless lives. Farmers found their soil richer than in previous years. Merchants from foreign lands returned, emboldened by strange dreams urging them toward Velmaria. The queen's reach, it seemed, had deepened in death. Her wisdom, once fierce in court, now stretched invisibly through the streets. The archivist of the royal library, Master Renwick, who had served her for decades, began researching. He pored through every record, spellbook, and myth. Was this necromancy, divine possession, or something else? He found an old tale, one buried in the pre-foundation texts of Velmarian, about a Velmarian bond, a blood ritual reserved for sovereigns. It was said that any ruler who truly gave their soul to the land could never be separated from it. Their will would remain as long as the land obeyed. Renwick brought his findings to the council, only to be found dead the next morning with ink poured into his eyes. No one else investigated further. The queen's old study, once locked, was now open every morning, its candles lit, its windows shut. Inside, new parchments appeared weekly, maps adjusted, ports annotated. It was as if someone or something was still working tirelessly inside. The ink was her favorite. The quill matched her personal eagle-feathered one. Guards posted outside never saw anyone enter or leave, but they heard scratching, scribbling, quiet weeping. The people of Velmaria no longer questioned it. They accepted her return not in flesh, but in presence. They left flowers not just at her tomb, but on the castle steps. They began celebrating her second rule with festivals. Her name was no longer followed by "May she rest," but by "May she reign eternal." A shrine was built modest but powerful where people came to whisper their grievances and request guidance. Many claimed their prayers were answered within days, sometimes hours. It was said that if you truly served her kingdom, she would hear you. And if you betrayed it, she would come for you in your sleep. Foreign ambassadors were warned, "Do not mock the queen. She listens." One diplomat from the north, skeptical and dismissive, laughed during the treaty meeting, calling Velmaria a realm haunted by fairy tales. That night, he vanished from his chambers. The shoes were found filled with ash. His signature appeared the next morning on the treaty parchment, already sealed. Years passed. No king rose. No queen dared sit upon her throne. Her name was written in new laws, her approval assumed in all decisions. The economy grew, the people prospered. Yet fear lingered like smoke in the corridors. A noble who privately conspired to break the queen's merchant pacts was found hanging by her own hair, her eyes wide open in terror. Carved into the stone below her, "I see you." The clergy, once hesitant, declared her a divine figure, a saint of the crown, the immortal matron. Churches now displayed her portrait in the place of old gods. A new prayer was taught to children: "Guide us, Isadora, as you guided them. Rule us as you always did. Watch us as only you can." And then one day the bells tolled again. It's not for a death, but for an arrival. In the palace gates appeared a girl no older than 7, dressed in green velvet. She bore the queen's eyes. Her speech carried the same biting elegance. She walked straight through guards who could not stop her. In the great hall, she climbed the steps and sat upon the throne. Silence fell over all of Velmaria. No one objected. No one moved. As if they had all been waiting. From that day on, the decrees were spoken aloud again. She never claimed to be Isadora, never denied it either. She ruled with a serenity that felt ancient. When asked where she had come from, she replied, "I was always here, just waiting for the right form." Historians tried to piece it together. Was she born of the queen's magic? A vessel? A reincarnation? The answers no longer mattered. The people followed. The ministers obeyed. The kingdom bowed once again. And in the castle, beneath the throne, the tomb of Queen Isadora remains untouched. Empty. The stone lid had shifted. The coffin was gone. Some say she walks the corridors in secret still. Others say she became the child. But all agree on one truth: the queen never truly died. She simply changed her shape. The kingdom she loved, fiercely possessively, still dances to her silent command. Because power, when tied to belief, does not die with flesh. It lingers in walls, in whispers, in ink. And in the will of a queen who was too strong to let death stop her rule,